Hello and welcome to an exciting episode of Gotham Sound TV. I am thrilled to bring you a conversation with Maurizio Argentieri. Did I say that right,
It's
Maurizio?
okay. Compliments. Yeah.
All right.
Can I say in Italian, Maurizio Argentieri?
Ah,
That's the
I,
way it sounds.
I won't even try. You are the production sound mixer of the TV show, Netflix TV show Ripley. And I watched this on Netflix and was blown away by the quality of sound. We hadn't met before. I after I watched the series, I reached out to you and I discovered we have a bunch of equipment in common in terms of metric halo, which we'll get into. But I'm very excited that you agreed to be a part of our live stream. So let's get into it. Maurizio, I know you as a production sound mixer, but how did you get involved in the industry? How did you get involved in sound?
I was a musician. I mean, I am a musician, and I think that is pretty common for a mixer. And I have a bachelor in classic guitar, and so I decided to be a musician when I was a kid because I'm in love with music, and but at some point I understood that I will be a poor guy, and I have in my mind that I want to travel and see the world, and I realized also that my hearing system was trained very well during the 10 years of study in the music conservatory. And so I say, why I don't? One day I came in I landed up in recording studios full of knobs and button and small lights and LEDs and meters, and I was fascinating like any other kids, male kids that that has a lot of things to touch and play with. And I say, why I cannot use all my skills as a musician to talk with musicians and about music, but from the other side. And this is where everything is start. And so I start my career as a sound engineer in the music business. But everything in the movie started like in the same way that you remember the Blues Brothers when John Belushi in the church scene saw the lights.
Yes.
Exactly. In the same way, I saw the lights one night in a moviola studio where one of my best friends was an assistant film editor in the 16 millimeters. He was doing documentaries about cities, those kind of documentaries where there is a person going through Italy and tell about all those small village. And one night we spent the night there, and with this boring footage, we change the sound and we put a piece of music, and everything changed the meaning. And I saw the light, and I say, this is what I want to do in my life, working into sound, but in a way that I can tell through the sound a story.
When you were in that editing room, how did you make the leap from going from that to?
So I start in the way that I can with the Nagra tree, doing documentaries, and step by step, I became more confident about this element called telling the story through the sound, and that I always find myself in the two sides, on production and in post production, because for me one side is the consequence of the other one.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot think about, it's like a director of photography that is on set, but he cannot get rid to be a camera operator because, the two elements can join together. And is exactly what happened, for example, in this show, Ripley. Robert Elswit was the camera operator in for the entire series, and he did a great job. And it's in front of everyone's eyes, and for me it's the same. I cannot imagine myself in a way that I cannot think about what happened after I made my recordings on set. You know, I always have this in my mind, how the sound is gonna be in the real, in the final mix. I cannot get rid about, you know, that element.
Did you get into sound design first, or did you get onto set first as a production mixer?
No, the first thing was set.
Set. Good. Okay, good.
Yeah, it was set. No. Everything started, you know, on the set. But you know, we the mind of recording studio. So it was incredible. For example, that I find myself after the recording studio experience with a small recorder with one preamplifier and one microphone. And for me was and I was panicking because I say, where is the compressor? Where is the equalizers? Where are the, you know, where are I need another 3 or 4 microphones because I want to get this one, this element, the other element. So when the first multi-track digital recorder came out, it was the most happiest kids on the planet because I finally have the possibility to realize my dream and the way I like to approach to the sound in the film.
And tell me about those days. So when you started, you were recording on a Nagra or DAT or
Yeah, I'm a son of the analog era.
analog.
My teachers. And, when I was in the recording studio, there was only analog recorders, and all the chain was analog, and all the console were analog. So we have to fight against the noise floor,
Oh,
because when
sure.
you 24 or 32 channels open on the mixing board, you always have to get rid of things that you don't need and to avoid and have less noise as possible.
When you were starting to record on set from your music days, was there a transition period? Did you have to learn a new vocabulary, for example, something you might adjust for a musician? Did you have to talk differently to the director, for example?
The difference was because with the musician at the beginning, I spoke, with them the same language. But when I find myself, at the beginning on the film set, there was a totally different languages. And also because in Italy, when I start doing production sound, everything was dubbed. So I was like a pioneer. My generation was a kind of a pioneer in the film industry, in Italian, in the Italy film industry, because we literally have to fight on set against people that don't understand that they have to be quiet because otherwise all the noises and chattings and crackling and squeaking and movements of dollies and other elements, lights and jennies and all those things can be in the movie, and they don't realize how sensitive and how delicate, and how the way that the microphone works. It was, they were ignorant in a good sense of the word. I mean, that they ignore the fact that my equipment work in another way, because everything was image centric. Every other single department, they work for cameras, like
Yes.
customs and makeup and electrician grips and the wardrobe, set designers, and everyone. Oh, there we only 2 people, on film set that take care about what they about sound.
Absolutely.
So for me, it was a totally different world. Also, it was me. I found myself at some point that I have to teach something or deliver, some information to other people. But yeah, this is just an extremization, because I've learned so much things about the language of movies, and I'm still doing. I'm still learning.
All of us, absolutely.
And just to tell one name, Steven Zillian was, I think, one of the most important master for me.
It's interesting you say that, because I was going to read one of the comments from Andrea Cintrella, which says Maurizio Argentieri is a living legend. So you are one of the masters too.
Grazie, Andrea.
I wonder if you could. We're definitely here to talk about Ripley, and we got a lot to get through. But I wonder if you could give me a story from the early days of really changing people's thoughts in Italy about the role of production sound. Do you remember a triumph where you had a fight for something, and then in dailies you were thanked later?
Yes, there was an episode. Thank you for asking me this question, and because you open a drawer in my memories that was very important for me.
Good.
One of the other master I have in my career was Bernardo Bertolucci,
Mm.
and I met him in a very specific moment of my life. You know, I had dreadlocks, and I was a kind of a Rasta, person. And in Italy, Bernardo Bertolucci was one of those directors that is a legend. And for all the movies that he did, even in a way that he filmed. He has such a beautiful aesthetic style and look and it's a pleasure to be on set with him. And I was called by production for a movie named The Siege. Is about is about the story of a musician that fell in love with a girl, and he declared his love through the piano, playing the piano for her. So I said to Bernardo, and because at the beginning Bernardo tell me, okay, we have to go in the recording studio and we have to record all the piano because we have to do the session in playback. Okay, because David Tulis wasn't a pianist. So I say, Bernardo, the piano is the third character of the story because we have her, him, and the piano. So we cannot treat the piano like any other instrument or any other piece of music. We need to hear that piano in the house because we shoot in the real apartment near close to Piazza, close to Spanish Steps, in Rome. And the house has a beautiful shape and a beautiful acoustic. It was very unique. And I say, okay, we need to record the piano in the house, and then we have to use those recordings in the movie. Main recorder for that show was a digital Nagra, 4 tracks. I hired 2 digital Nagras. Just to have at the same moment, I placed different couple of stereo microphones in different place of the house because there was him played the piano in the room, but then there was shots of her listening at the music to stairs, underneath the piano or in another room. So I literally recorded those perspective for real. And because, there wasn't early reflection reverberations, there wasn't, impulse response reverbs. So Bernardo understood my point of view and asked to production to dress completely the house with all the elements.
Even though it would never be on camera, he wanted
Exactly.
it to be how it would
Exactly.
sound.
Exactly, because I want to replicate the real acoustics, not an empty house, but a real house that that step by step became empty, because at the end he sells his piano in the movie. So and so I remember this part, and at the end Bernardo really thanks me to give him this idea, because in the movie is was totally different.
I imagine that was a moment that encapsulated all of your skills and all of your learnings up to that point.
Yes, yes, that was an incredible experience, and I've learned so much from the collaboration of those great masters,
Mm.
that step by step I have my backpack every year full of new elements that I still remember.
Yes. At some point, you must have gone from set because in your email signature, you say you call yourself a sound designer. And I wonder if you can
Yes,
tell me that part of your career and how that transition happened.
I don't want to be rude in this way, but I was never satisfied about the final sound of the film that I was doing, because I always miss something, or there always something wrong, and something that was misinterpreted, and the space was not correct, and the equalization was not right, and the sensation of space, there's a lot of elements that make me really frustrated. And at some point, and I say I need to be there.
And by there, you mean in post production.
Yes,
Yeah.
I need to be there, and and focus in the way that the lavalier have to be mixed with the boom, because I know I first of all I have a memory. Second of all, I was there with the director for 2 months, 3 months. I assist at any single discussion in the intentions that he delivers to the actors, and this is a humongous amount of information that that I can put and deliver and place in the sound of the movie, because I remember the original intentions of the director.
Of course, you heard it there. You were there from rehearsals, probably even.
Exactly. And so, and for me, this is a natural expression, is a natural consequence about my work on the set and then in post production. And also because I really put a lot of um, effort to studying the way the sound works, the way the sound works in space, the way the immersive loudspeaker system works, and I want to use it, and in a good way.
And I think just for people who don't have a background in movie sound, that's very unusual. Typically, production sound mixer goes on to set, records, is hired maybe a week or two before the film, sometimes earlier. They get some, ideally, they go on scouts, but that's not always the case, location scouts. And then they're done when the film is wrapped, when production is wrapped.
Mhm.
And then it's a whole other sound team that takes over. So, just for people not familiar with the process, what you are doing is unusual.
So it's totally unusual. That's why I start my discussion say I don't want to be rude, because now, for example, post production is a way better. I mean, I'm talking about Italy. I really make my compliments, because nowadays I'm not too worried about, because as I told you before, Italy was a place where they have not too much experience about sounds, because everything is replicated, and that make a lot of problem in the evolution
Mm-hmm.
of the post production. But now we are totally at the same level. I'm very happy. I'm very happy about the quality of post production, when of course the production give to the post production the amount of budget that they need to deliver a very great performance.
Absolutely. And so let's bring Ripley into it. Ripley, as we said, is this kind of mini series on Netflix. Tell me how you got involved in that.
Well, first of all, I was involved because the Italian production called me, and on a behalf of Enzo Sisti and Vito Colazzo, that are the two main names in this Italian production who made Ripley, and I have to thank them. Because my first collaboration was a long time ago with The Passion of Christ of Mel Gibson. I was very young, and they make, like a bet with me, and they give me the opportunity to be the production sound mixer of a movie totally acted in Aramaic. And so there was no way that they can, dub the movie. So I have a big responsibility that time. So, and we became friends. And since that time, all the time that there is something important, they call me. I never worked before with Steven Zillian, never.
And Steven is the director. When you and Steven started talking, what struck you about that conversation that this project would be unique and different?
Well, the first thing that when someone called me to do a project, the first thing that I ask is to read the script. First. I mean, I cannot go there and don't know what we are talking about. For me, it's unbelievable. And I need to know. Even before the first meeting with the production, say, okay, this is my CV, and I need to know what we are talking about. So the first thing that as soon as I read the script, there was a lot of pages with no dialogue. So nowadays, someone can think in the way that the modern production sound mixer work today. They can say, okay, this is a very, it's an easy job because there is no dialogue, not too much dialogue. I can go over, and perhaps the production can tell you, okay, how you want to compose your crew, 2, 3, 4 people, and they say, no, this one is 2 people, just because there's so few line of dialogue in the entire show, and I have the total opposite sensation, and because I say, okay. And I haven't slept for at least 2 or 3 days before I met Steven the first day. And I've met Steven during the first day of location scouting.
And you haven't slept because you were reading the scripts and your mind was filling with possibilities?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly, because I understand that sound was another characters of the show. Literally, it wasn't Tom Ripley, and Inspector Ravini and all the other actors. That there was another more.
For anybody that hasn't seen the show, first of all, there's going to be spoilers when we show the clips, so just be aware of that. But second of all, if you haven't seen the show, briefly, it is, I guess, how would I summarize it? It's about an American, a rich son of an American industrial magnate that's spending time in Italy. His father wants to bring him back and hires this kind of con man, Ripley, to bring him back. And without giving too much away in this sentence, things transpire where Ripley takes over the persona of this rich young son. In the script, does it say black and white?
No.
When did you find out?
We did 1 month of location scouting, and I was there since the very beginning, and I was there also during the construction of the set. This is the way I approached the project. And I cannot go on set and start recording, for example. For me, there's no way.
Right.
And so first day, second day, third day of location scouting, I was there, and I start hearing, the discussion of Steven with the director of photography and, with the set designer and something like this. At the end of the first week, I say, Steven, my name is Maurizio, and I'm gonna be your production sound mixer. And because I took my courage and the courage in my hands, and I say I have to introduce myself to this man. And now I was shaking, I was panicking, because for me it was like, I don't know, and a big person, a big name, and and he was very nice and kind. And during those first 7 days, I heard that there was an option to film the show in black and white. So everything changed in my mind again, and I asked this information to Steven, and Steven say, "No, this is my desire. We try." But because there wasn't a decision since the very beginning. Was a battle that Steven, support until even after the show was finished to filmed. They don't know still if the show is gonna be in black and white or not.
That's fascinating. I'm putting myself in your shoes, or trying to. I imagine if I were to hear that a director and a DP were contemplating shooting in black and white, and having read the scripts where there's large parts with no dialogue, that decision on their part would reinforce in my mind that this is really about space. This is really about
Exactly. That's the thing, because as I was mentioned before, it in those white pages with no white, I mean, with no lines of dialogue, there was a lot of description about sensation, state of minds, the way he thought, what he was thinking. In that, of course, these elements can be delivered, with the beautiful performance that Andrew Scott and all the other characters did in Ripley. But most of that elements of sensation is part of the sound. The sound is telling something, and the different perspective that we constructed on set, that because we literally put the sound under a magnifying glass and deliver to the audience this kind of perspective that normally you are not trained to hear sound in this way. So at the very beginning, you already are like this, and you became shocked since the very beginning, because all the sound wise the show it's presented in a very weird way. This is totally in tune with the general tone of the show. Of course, on set we were watching to the monitor in black and white. And since the very beginning, on set the DIT has the black and white thing and the color thing, because they have to control the pipeline of the files and all the stuff.
Sure.
But when I cannot even imagine to watch this show in color. Everything appeared that's the right choice. That this is the real show. It's black and white with no doubt since the very beginning.
I think this is a good opportunity to look at a clip from episode 1.
Yes, this is the first day of shooting. We were just to open a parenthesis to give you an idea how the entire show was made. We were in the middle of the pandemic time in Italy. We were hit very hard from COVID. So let the actors travel was difficult, and that is the scene of a long telephone call, and the telephone call that you are listening at during the clip was real.
Wow. Let's watch the clip and then we'll talk about it on the other side.
Mr. Reddington.
Yes?
Hello, this is George McAlpin here, following up on the notices sent to you.
Excuse me?
The balance and late charges, sir, on your account with a Dr. Marvin Katz.
What balance? I paid him.
By cash or by check?
By check.
Well, it was not received,
Well, I sent it.
and that's why you ignored the late notices.
I didn't receive any late notices. I don't understand.
Mr. Reddington, I can tell that you're getting agitated. There's really no reason to.
Look, is there someone there that I could talk to about this?
You can talk to me. You're talking to me, sir. If you want to talk to somebody else, that would be an attorney. But I'm hopeful that the matter can be settled without legal action against you.
Okay.
Okay, so what you have to do now, sir, is this. Issue a new check for the original amount plus the 10% late fee, which brings it to $27, made out and sent to... Do you have a pen?
We spend an entire day of shooting with the actor performing literally performing on the other side, on the telephone line in the United States, and was a real actor, and we recorded everything in the real way from the microphone of the telephone. We constructed a very complicated infrastructures, with an n-1. Otherwise, everything got in loop.
Yes.
Yes. It's very complicated. So that was my first day of shooting. Nobody trusts me. Since the very first day, I remember the first idea. Okay, this is never gonna work, and there was and it goes like a charm. And at the end, the first AD came to me and tell me, "Terrific job."
There's that saying, one attaboy is worth 10 oh craps. So you got one in a row,
Yeah.
and you have their confidence. And the other thing that I have to ask you about is the camera perspective is, the sound perspective is so rich with where the space is and where the camera is in that space and where the actor is in relation to the camera. I wonder if you could just talk about some of your thought process in recording that.
So prepare yourself, because it's a long journey, because I have to put a lot of elements in the right order. First of all, dialogue. And since the very beginning, that I understand the period and the tone, because when you read the script, you feel the general tone of the show, and I say, no way, this is gonna be an analog movie. And I mean, when I say analog, I mean analog. So microphone preamplifiers, tubes microphone preamplifiers. And I have an handmade David Manley tubes microphone preamplifier with the original General Electric ACC 83 tubes inside. And they are new old stock tubes that I changed and choose at the beginning of the show. And that was my signature. I used that microphone's preamplifier as a stamp, just to make a decision that nobody can go back to that decision that I've made. Because for me, for my point of view, as a let's say the owner of the production sound and the voice of the actor, I want to choose, that direction. Of course, I spoke with Steven about that. He was a little bit worried at the beginning because it's not usual that on a film set you go with a microphone preamplifier, with a tubes microphone preamplifier. Never used a plug-on, a wireless plug-on to put on the boom microphone.
So all the booms were hardwired and
Yes.
directly
Yes.
into this tube preamp.
Exactly. For the felicity of my sound utilities and my boom operators, I've placed two large diaphragm microphones on the boom just to get that kind of richness of that old analog era. Not happy about this decision, I used a tubes compressor with a slight compression just to enrich the texture of sound with a little bit of harmonic distortion. And at the very low end of the level of the sound, but I want to get this a small amount of distortion in the voice of the actor and as a taste. And this was made everything during the recordings.
And just to give context to this for those who are watching that don't have a background in production sound, this is very unusual for a production sound mixer to do, because normally we think of we are going to get the cleanest, technically proficient recording to post-production. For you to put a kind of signature, a sonic signature on it, is a very, very bold and unique choice, and one that is very, very striking. Even, I think just watching it at home, I can hear a difference. It comes through, and I have to congratulate you, and also hat tip to your team on set, who, I can't imagine they were used to dealing with this extra equipment.
Yeah, thank you. No. I'm happy that you noticed that, and because because I believe that human beings don't like perfections, that human beings like interpretations, and they like defect. They like characters. The beauty in the true sense of the word doesn't exist. Beauty is a sensation, is a state of mind. And this is what happened. This is the kind of thought that I doing in my head. So telling this, and you can feel it, and I'm happy that you feel it when you watch the show, because this was my intention. On the other side, the space. I always, and I mean always, you can ask the film editor that received 18 tracks, my 18 tracks of recording, because I always placed away from the scene a special rig custom made by me and the owner of Cinela. Is a double MS rig that, using the DSP capabilities that the metric halo audio interface have, I constructed a matrix in a way that I can deliver the discrete double MS signal, so M front, M rear, and side, plus the matrixed result in 5.0 format, so that they can play in the editing room. So if they can have an idea of the real space, they can try straight away. And this space is the pristine quality and the true digital era, pristine, super quality, precise of the last era. This is the contrast I made for the entire series. Dialogue, so human beings are very interpreted, but the space is incredibly clean. and incredibly powerful. And that, I think, helped a lot in the series to feel this beautiful sensation of perspective, and the richness of all the elements that is not is that underline the composition of all those beautiful shots.
And I think we see that over and over again in the way Steven sort of thought about the scenes. Like even in that clip, we see his roommate or neighbor kind of banging or like drying a carpet.
Exactly.
And you hear the reverberation. And
yeah, exactly. Of course. I don't want to be mean against post production, and I beg your pardon, and because I'm talking about my side, but of course I have to make my best compliment, because all the post production team, sound post production team, they did an incredible job, and you can hear it. There is another clip of the train at the beginning, when Tom travel in the metro in New York. Exactly.
Yes.
And so, just to give you the right way to interpret this clip, because here really, if you can put your headset and have the chance to listen through the headset of a good pair of loudspeakers, you can hear the incredible richness and beautiness, because they manage all the sound element in the same way that like a music composer do with all the instrument of an orchestra, and they did the same using all the sound elements to describe this little story of this man coming back to his home. And please have fun and appreciate all these nuances of two different layers of music. For example, Steven is a maestro on this, because as you can manage two different music and he is really a maestro of doing this.
I love that. First time I'm hearing it on headphones, and you're right. Do yourself a favor and listen to it on headphones. But I remember watching it at home and being riveted. And I imagine in the script, there's no dialogue in any of it.
No, absolutely.
It is completely riveting, and it really does tell the story of who this character is.
Exactly. This is what I tried to tell you before. Reading on the script, perhaps but you say, and Tom walks away and come home.
Right.
But it wasn't like this. No. There was a lot of description about what he has in his mind. It was pretty clear that with the sound you have to lead those kind of elements, and and he did such a masterpiece.
Maybe we should do, if we do a part 2, we invite the sound editors and the re-recording mixers.
Oh, well, yeah, that can be fantastic, really.
I mean, what strikes me about that clip is how all of the sound effects add up to score. The pulsing of the train fans and even the screeching of the brakes, and when we see the 2 trains pull into the station, and then as it kind of gets quieter and quieter. And even the score you do hear at first is, you're not sure if it's somebody playing on a street corner or something. It's almost, just more atmosphere.
Exactly, but that's the sensation. It's New York, that age, the jazz. It is the jazz moment in New York, and with just a little sound of this trumpet play far away. First of all, it gives you the sensation of a space. It's just a street, but you can hear that there is space far away where life is going on, and this is sound.
Right.
This is powerful. What the sound can do.
Yes.
In they can. You can really tell the story.
And life going on, but not for him. That was the
exactly.
sensation.
Exactly.
We have a YouTube question from Film Music Lab. How many days of shooting did you have?
9 months.
You were in Italy, and you came to New York.
Yes.
On these days in particular, what recording rigs did you have?
At the beginning, I tried to hire the same equipment that I have here in Italy, but wasn't possible.
No.
And I remember that I've been in touch with you guys,
yeah.
and asking for a quotation, and then production goes to another way. But I was responsible for that. And
no, it's fine. But I mean, I don't. I can't imagine the mic preamps that you were using. I mean, even the metric halo stuff that you were using to find that here in the States would be for sure a challenge. Let's take a minute and just look at your cart.
So here is the Tubes microphone preamplifier. Is an original design, but telling the truth, this Tubes microphone preamplifier was modified under my request from a genius that is a friend of mine in Italy, that his name is Cento, and he made this preamplifier sounds like a charm with a very low noise floor.
For those that don't know, because production sound mixers work on location, 12-volt DC, meaning battery power, is important. And tubes don't always go well with 12-volt car batteries. What was there an attempt to modify this for 12-volt, or were you dependent on AC?
No. I have a very good sine wave inverter, a very low noise and very low ripple sine wave inverter.
Good. Okay.
And but nowadays, with a static power generator, you always have 220 volts on set. Yes. I mean, 110 there in the United States.
Yes, yeah.
This is the microphone preamplifier. This is a great piece of my rig, because don't forget that of course I've used also the wireless system. That in my case I think one of the first user of Shure Axiom Digital system to bring on set. Mm-hmm. Even before the new ADX5D came on. So this is the spectrum analyzer that I need to control all the RF spectrum in real time. This is my MIDI controller of the mixer that I have. Is the BCF 2000. It's very cheap, but I never had a glitch in 4 years.
Those things are built like tanks in my experience too. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? The faders work like a charm. So this is, a very good. I mean, it's very reliable. I cannot say something different.
Yes. And, for the price, you can have a whole other one on the truck ready to go if something did go wrong.
Yeah, exactly. And this is the core that I was talking before. This is the the 8 channels wireless receiver from XN Digital, 2 metric kilo interface. So I have a total at the moment of 32 channels under my fingers.
I see a ULN8 and a 2882. Those are metric halo model numbers.
Exactly. And this is my power conditioner, antenna distribution, and this is the mixing board. This is the metric halo beating heart of the system.
So that is what the Behringer is talking to, that software.
Exactly. The Behringer moving all those faders here. Let's, spend some words about that. Those are my 2 booms. And here you can apply, for example, equalizer in real time with no latency, where I can correct if there is some kind of artifacts or defect, because perhaps one of the lavaliers are too hidden by the a layer of costume. Instead of picking on the boom operator to take the microphone out, of course I try to get the lavalier microphone always quite visible, in different visible, I used to say.
I call it hiding in plain sight, but yes, I think I understand.
Yes, exactly. So, but sometimes to not go too much times to the actor, if I can, resolve the problem just for my rough mix, that is these red tracks that I deliver on track 1 and 2. I just apply a little, shelving equalizer to enrich the high frequency, or if it's too bottomy, I can shelve the low frequency spectrum with a very wide bell. I don't like picking equalizer unless I have to really intervene in something very specific.
Most production sound mixers rely on a portable recorder. The previous generation was an outboard mixer, but now it's a control surface that talks to that recorder. And the computer might just be a place to dump the tracks to. But the computer and the audio interface very typically, are not the star of the show on a sound card. And you've kind of flipped that on its head.
Exactly, totally flipped. And because I rely on a computer. All that I'm showing relies on computer, on a Mac Mini. I'm touching wood. And I never had a glitch with this thing.
And just for people that aren't familiar with metric halo, when you talk about adding EQ through the software is instructing the DSP on the interface.
Exactly.
So there is no latency.
No.
But you do have, and I wonder if you took it, if you ever took advantage of this, you could do presets. I mean, at that point it is a computer program.
Yes, absolutely. And I am full of presets in my processors. But just want to point your attention on those 3 channels here.
They're purple.
Exactly. This is the source channel of the double MS microphone, and as you can see, M front, M rear, and side. But then, in real time, through the aux to the sends, I can explode these 3 channels in 5.0 format in real time using a custom-made decoder for the double MS.
Part of what metric halo gives you is the ability to kind of make chunks of DSP
as you can see, it's very easy. It's like, it's like kids,
Yes.
thinking. And that's so incredibly powerful. So I have my 3 channel, mid front, mid rear, and side. Okay. So I literally put patch cords. With the mouse, you can move your patch cord to the processor. I don't have a picture of the explosion of this piece, but this is like a plugin. You double click on it, and it opens the control panel of an MS decoder. So the M front goes straight to the center. The M front and side goes to the left and right. And the M rear and side that is in common goes to the left surround and right surround. So from 3 channels, I can open these with my taste in 5.0 signal at the same time. This is my main recorder.
Which is boom recorder, it looks like.
Exactly, it's a boom recorder. And as you can see here, you have the M front, M rear, and side, plus the explosion of the metrics results in real time, plus all my mono single tracks.
This is really incredible. I don't mean this to be a commercial for any equipment manufacturer, but it is so unique to what Metric Halo allows you to do. And it is such an interesting use of this technology. And here I see we have boom recorder. We should spend a minute to talk about how this technology serves the story. All of this technology, even some of the older tube technology. I think it's important to remind people that it's not about the tech. You and I could probably geek out about this for another hour, but it all is there to serve the story.
Yes, exactly. I cannot imagine my life as someone that has to tell story about sound, with sound, using the sound, to have all those, to avoid all those instruments, because it's part of the discussion that we did before. When I say all the time that I go to see the movie that I've done, I always came out frustrated because there was a misinterpretation. And so in this case, using those instruments, there's no way that you cannot misinterpret the sound, and also telling the real truth. Can I tell the truth?
Please.
I really enjoy my time on set. Make, experimentation, have sensations about, can I always during the scene, sometimes I open a little bit of the special microphone, of the ambient microphone that I put on the other room. For example, let's pretend that we are shooting a scene in one room of the apartment, where the window facing a road where cars are passing. Not very often, but sometimes some cars or mopeds or motorbikes pass. And how can you control the continuity of this car passing? I used to place another microphone on another room, facing the same side of the road, and recording just the window with the clean car passing. So if in the other room we are shooting a scene with the actors, and the film editor at some point want to cut the scene in a point in the middle of the car passing, if you are not covered with another element, how can you cut the scene with the car that go, nah.
Right.
And there is, in this way, you can cut the scene because there is the boom microphone that is, recording the car pass. But in the other room, I have the clean track to let the film editor continuing the car passing, even if he changed the shot to the other side.
I love that. And I wonder if you can give us a sense of the conversations that you have with post-production so that they know they have that. And how do those conversations go?
Because the first question all the time that I delivered the tracks at the very beginning was, why all these tracks for? Why? And I say, why? Because of all that reason, the space. I always want to bring the original. If for example, you remember the scene when he came out of the station? How beautiful was the building and the reverberation.
Let's watch it.
Can you feel the reverberation in the train station? In the hallway of the train station. That was get live from this double MS rig. This is the microphone that I was talking before.
Mm-hmm.
And this was made by Cinela, and under my request. And this is an MKH30. Is for me is the best figure of 8 microphone in the market.
Mm-hmm.
And 2 cardioids made by DPA. It's the old series, not the last one. And this was my special rig.
Got it. Yeah. Cinela custom made that blimp.
Yes. And the suspension, I asked them, how can you suspend those 3 microphones? And with just one tiny cable with 7 conductor, they give me an XLR 7 as an output of the blimp, and that's it. Beautiful.
All of those spaces are their own characters. For me, the one that absolutely stands out as sort of white knuckle is the bus ride. Joe Bohannon says, incredible attention to detail. How difficult, this is his question, how difficult was it to get the time on set from production to capture such a wide palette of sound? So often we are rushed through a packed schedule on set. And agreed, like the rich detail, even in the bus, especially in the bus, like even when the bus driver's changing gears, not to mention all of the different sounds. Tell us about that.
Yeah, and yes, there is an old story about that, because at some point a lot of people get sick of COVID, and we have to stop the production. And and production was very beautifully loyal to all the workers, and any one of us get paid for the entire time. They never stop paying us. and so at some point we say, okay, how can we use that time to and production says, and I ask production why we cannot organize a recording session of the picture vehicle, because at some point we have to do, because we cannot, we are that's Italian picture vehicles. How can you imagine that in the United States someone can have a library of those elements? And they cannot. So I ask the main producer to have the authorization to organize this recording session. And another time, the Italian producers don't think that I was the crazy man of the village and say, okay, let's organize that, and let's looking for a good place, a silent place. So they hired like a racetrack. And they bring there all the picture vehicle that we use in the film. But I mean, like 25 different cars, a lot of mopeds, the bus, and we have a recording session of 3 entire days. Wow. And I have under my control a grips department. Wow. And they did the best job ever. And also they give us the catering. There was also we have our break for lunch, and there was a catering there for us because we were 25 people. Wow. Working. There was the COVID department, the grips, all my sound department, production. And the people that need to be there, the location department for the organization of the racetrack and everything, it's and then all the organization of all that trucks, loads of picture vehicles, and they have organized permission. It was a huge moment. I can show you some picture about that.
That's incredible. I'm sorry for the people that got sick, but what an opportunity, and kudos to production for making it happen.
Yeah, that was a huge opportunity. So this is the bus, and you of course you pay attention to the sound of that bus. The sound of that bus came out of this muffler here, and that is a very specific. So the grips, as you can see, make like a miracle. And I say, so they ask me, where do you want the microphone? And I say, I would love to have a microphone there. So they rig all the microphones where I desire, but not only. Wow. This was an old Alfa Romeo, because has the same engine, has the same sound of the police car that we use in the show. Mm-hmm. Because the police car we used in the show wasn't sound great. It is the bus. Look. Ta-da!
Oh my God. Wow. That was an incredible rig. Oh my God.
That's the big collaboration between the sound department and our Italian grip department. This is like, an installation.
Yes.
Because I said I need to build a structure where I can organize like a double-decker tree rig and have these recordings organized in a way that I can have the immersive element of the interior of the bus. All those things, all those, mounting, they made in a way that they don't make any noise.
It's incredible. I've often said if I have to pick one department to be near when the end of the world happens, it would definitely be the grip department. Because they can do anything. Yeah, that's incredible work. Normally reserved for camera all the time. I've never seen rigs dedicated just to sound for 3 days. What an incredible opportunity. That's amazing. Have you been in touch with the sound effects editors? I imagine they had gratitude to express about having these incredible tracks.
Oh yeah. No. I receive a lot of beautiful compliments from the post-production department. They were very loyal also because I know the world. So we organized the track with pictures in a true sound library where they can import all those bunch of sounds straight to SoundMiner.
Yes.
And everything was totally well descripted with the proper track order, with the picture, with the microphone placements, so can they really understand what's going on the 8, 9, 10 tracks recording inside the bus, you know? And also, the same car, for example, was recorded in sync using ambient lock-it boxes with 3 different recorders and 3 different perspective. I was the driver of any single car. I'm not kidding. Of any single car, because I know how to express the sounds of each car like a character. I cannot tell the driver how to drive the car, you know. And so I was the one who recorded the truck, the car itself. And then there were 2 other places with 2 different recorders on the same time code under the lock-it boxes that recorded the passage from different perspective of the car. So in one run, I have 3 different perspective of the same recorder, of the same recording.
Amazing. And you know what becomes clear in the show is Ripley reacts to hearing the cars at different times. I mean, a lot of times that's a suspenseful moment because he's about to get caught potentially.
Yeah.
So getting that right was really critical and absolutely was one of the things that kept me riveted. So yeah, we have other clips to show. We have
this clip, for example, where you can appreciate the difference between the sound taste of the dialogue and the space, for example, because everything you hear here is not, let's say 80% production sound.
Ispettore Pietro Ravini della Polizia di Roma. Frederick Malaise è ospite dell'albergo. Prego. Signor Malaise?
What? Who are you? That's another funny story about that floor. You know, we are in the 16th century building, and when we do location scouting, Steven was looking at me. I know, don't say nothing about this crackling floor, and and I saying, I like it. And so I became friends with this crackling floor, and of course I get the maximum that I can get from this crackling, because the first thing that you hear when he's opened the doors is footsteps on that incredible floor, and how you can fight with this.
No, and it's part of the space, and I imagine Steven was in part reacting to other conversations he's had with previous sound mixers. And so, but you had a different idea, which is really great. There's another in a hotel that you talked about it being a set.
Yeah, another true telephone call.
Pronto, traghetti Tirrenia?
Mi dici gli orari dei traghetti per Palermo?
Sì, un momento. Stasera alle 22.
Grazie.
È sopra, sono sicura. Però forse sta dormendo, non sente, non lo so. Comunque l'ascensore è rotto tutti i fari.
Grazie. Signor Greenleaf?
Sì?
Sono l'ispettore Pietro Ravini.
Sì?
Posso entrare?
Certo.
Grazie.
That was a set, or at least for that apartment. Is that right?
Yes, it's a mix between two different things. Of course, the staircase is real, but the interior of the apartment is totally fake. I mean, totally fake. I mean, it's rebuilt in the soundstage. And just to let you understand the way I do things, and I like to control things, I was there since the very beginning of constructions, because once I've read the script, I understand all the actions that he has to do inside his apartment in terms of sounds and footsteps and movings and other things. I realized that I need to take care about the way the floor is gonna sound. So I went there, and I, of course, I talk with the production during the constructions before they start.
Mm-hmm.
And I say, I need a specific treatment for the floor, because the floor was raised from the main level of the soundstage. So the floor of the apartment was 180 centimeter above the main level of the soundstage. And so I organized the way the construction to the coupling all this floor with different elements, and built a specific sandwich using eco rubbers and other materials to obtain this sound that is not drummy, that doesn't sound like a drum.
Because normally a floor that's constructed as part of a set might not take sound into account, and so it would have nothing underneath and sound, as you say, like a drum, like every time.
Yeah, as you can see, everything was real, and
Yes.
the footsteps was real, because I never use in all the show a piece of dumping material under the heels of the shoes, because
Wow.
those are original Ferragamo's shoes. And how can you? And so I have original floors, because the floors was real. I mean, the floors was made by real hardwood.
Yes.
And and you can feel it. And also the shoes have their own sound, because also the costume department, they made such an incredible job. And how can I treat them with no respect?
I love that, and as a former sound utility for many years, that was part of my job, was to cut foam on, put it under people's shoes. As a mixer, I've asked for dance soles on shoes and stuff. Again, you sort of flip that on its head.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because I need to tell the story. That's perhaps I don't want to say that I never used these kind of solutions, but in this case they don't fit in the story that I want to tell.
No, and I've had actors say, like, "Hey, stomping is part of my character. Don't take that away from me."
Yeah, and in this case, in this case, Andrew really act also in this way, because if you see the show, he has a very specific way of walking, and that need to be part of the show. Even the sound made, and when he walks.
Absolutely. In that scene, did you make the telephones ring?
Not the telephone doesn't ring, because we decide. I mean, we decided, because the person who modified, because every single telephone was modified, because they have to connected to our infrastructure. There wasn't a telephone line there, because also I have to intercept the signal in
Of
the phone,
course.
so it was totally modified. So and the technician, my hero, that modified all my gears, all my tubes gears, says, do you want the telephone rings? And I say, no, no, don't take care about that, because I know that we can have them ring. But I was I was under big pressure to have all this connection going, that I don't want another thing that make me worried that the telephone doesn't ring at the right moment, and I say, okay, let's pretend that the telephone rings, but they works as a real telephone with the people connected on the other side of the world.
Understood.
I need to be reliable. I have to make decisions, and at some point I have, there are things that have priority.
The other question I had in that clip was that incredible sound perspective we hear in the stairwell, where we are with Ripley, hearing in real time the inspectors coming up. Was there a special way that you recorded that?
Yeah, of course. There was in this case there was a combination of I'll tell you, the combination was, of course, a little bit of the lavaliers. Then there was the special microphone that was in the stairwell, because the stairwell was real.
That spatial microphone was closer to Ripley.
Yes, exactly. In the way that I can get the right perspective, no? And because the focused part of the sound was coming from the lavalier microphone. And then the early reflection, but it's specialized in 5.0. And then I think that the post-production add a little bit of reverb to make them sound in a very good way.
Yeah, it's really very believable, and again, it sort of adds to the storytelling and the texture, and we are right with him.
As you noticed, also there was the very first cut that Steven did from the window. You can feel that you are in front of the window, because the sound of the ambient sound coming from outside, as soon as he cuts from that perspective, all this, you suddenly hear that you are in front or in the proximity of the window facing the street. It's incredible. I mean, it's such an incredible show about all these elements. I know that I have a kind of illness in my mind about sound, and I'm notice all those little elements, but it's
I'm right there with you. I mean, for me, the other standout, just thinking about it, is there's no real score in that moment, but the suspense comes from the sound. So as the inspectors approach the other side of the doorway, we hear the heaviness of their feet and then the pounding on the door. I imagine traditionally that would have been handled by, a thumping heartbeat kind of sound, but it all comes from the space.
yes, absolutely, absolutely. And the show is full of these elements. I mean, it's full of these descriptions made by sound.
I think we ought to leave it there.
Okay, for me, it was such a pleasure. I know that we can, stay talking for hours, but I also understand that, that I think we give a lot of informations.
I think so too. My mind is blown, and I got to say thank you. It's really I've used the phrase a couple of times where you take traditional techniques of sound recording on a set and turn them on their head to serve the story, and I'm really blown away. Stefano Masciti, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right.
Mascitti, I think. Stefano Mascitti, yeah.
Masciti. Inner voices, thoughts, words, ambient space is the contrast between analog and digital, a kind of sound answer to the black and white of the image.
It's a very good reflection. I mean, it's a very good thought. Yes.
Yeah. All right. Let's say we will do a part two. We'll try and get a hold of the of post production maybe, and we'll figure something out.
Oh yeah. Really, if you have a chance, because I never have enough word to thank them for the beautiful work that they have done. Really, from the deep of my heart, they did such an incredible job. Really enriching and and going forward from the point I left the show, but they go very, very, very forward. I mean, very far away.
Absolutely. By all means, please, if you haven't seen this series, it is worth your time to watch it. And I want to thank the audience for watching us, and we'll pay attention to the comments as this sort of lives on. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Maurizio. And thanks to the crew. Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Jared. We will see you again real soon. GothamSound.tv is the place to see other videos. Thanks for watching.
Thank you. Thank you.